Alright guys, so back for another web walk. I believe this is probably episode 6 now. Been thinking a lot about how I want to continue to go on with this, and that's probably going to be a continual thing for me. Um, the more experience I get with it, talking into a camera, not actually talking to anybody, the better I know I'll get at it. Come up with some other ideas to make it more entertaining, other topics, things like that. I want to continue to do the web walk. There will be exercise and training videos. Watch me do workout routines and things like that. And while I'm doing this, I'm constantly thinking about the audience. Who is it that I'm trying to reach? Why am I trying to reach them? What do I have to offer? That kind of thing. And, I've had a lot of people tell me over the years that there is a lot going on inside my brain and I need to share it. And that's true probably on a lot of topics. I'm not saying I'm some super smart guy, okay? I'm not saying that at all. But what I do know is that I have the capacity to consume large amounts of knowledge on certain things that I'm passionate about. And like I have mentioned before, the 3 top things that I'm probably most passionate about are theology, history, which would include politics, and the world of lifting. I don't like to say exercise because that's such a broad brush and so watered down. Exercise could mean anything, although exercise is good for you. I'm more dealing with the world of lifting because I believe, and so does even the medical community, that absolutely everybody should be lifting. Okay? Yes, there are those outliers of people that are in ways hindered from doing certain types of lifting, but it is far and few between. And I think if we carry the mentality of everybody should be lifting instead of automatically defaulting to, well, what about this person? What about that person? And I think we're in a society now that that's what we want to do. Default to what is the easiest and quickest excuse to get out of doing anything difficult. All right? And I believe wholeheartedly that's one of the leading factors of the obesity epidemic that is in any first world country, but I'm dealing with this one, right? And even smaller than that, within my own small community of people that's etched out for me in this world, be it my work environment, my church environment, my family environment, circles of friends, which my circle of friends isn't that big, and I actually think that's a healthy thing. I was taught as a young age, you're lucky to have 1 or 2 really good friends, and I can tell you straight up, my best friend is my wife, hands down. I'm going to rant a little bit as I get to the topic I want to kind of deal with, and I've had a couple ideas. Like last night I said there's probably be a 2-3 part series dealing with nutrition, but I'm going to rant a little bit, right? I'm an old man, and old men are known to rant, and it's better that I get it out that way than maybe possibly hurt somebody or get hurt myself, really. But anyways, we want to default automatically to the easiest way around something, or look for an excuse not to change something in our life. Okay? And we're all guilty of it. We've all made excuses for ourselves. And that's kind of what I want to deal with tonight, is you really don't want to change. Okay? Many people are in love with the idea of changing, right? Of bettering themselves, whether it's work, career, relationships, any kind of project you got going on. Again, I'm dealing mostly with the world of lifting and how that applies to everyday life. Okay? You need to face the reality, like I did, and I have so many times. The only reason that you're really not lifting is because you really don't want to. You don't want to do what it takes to reach the level, whether it's body composition, a certain body weight, a certain look, whatever it is, whatever you're drawn to. You like the idea of it more than you actually want to do it. Okay? And that's something that's kind of hit me hard in a lot of things, especially as I've gotten older. I was powerlifting for a long time, way back in my late 20s, and continued to train like a powerlifter into my 30s, into my 40s, and then strongman got really, really popular, right? In the sense that with social media taking off and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, all that stuff got really, really popular. And back in the day, you couldn't buy strongman implements to train with, right? People didn't know how to train that way. It was just something that you watched every Christmas on ESPN. That's how you discovered it. And for me, I'm obviously drawn to that kind of stuff. That's my thing. Anything to do with strength, big dudes, big women too, big muscular women doing strong stuff, kind of that circus freak mentality, right? I'm just drawn to that kind of stuff. And the idea with social media, I'm constantly aware of what's going on around me, so that's why you'll see me get sidetracked once in a while. Plus, I don't want to get run over. And people in this community probably aren't used to seeing somebody walking with a camera, but hey, that's the world we live in now. It is what it is, right? So anyways, talking about that, when I got involved in strongman and training and did a competition, at that time I was 47, had been training it for a couple of years, got serious about it, finally decided to do a local competition, coached myself, built my own implements, the Atlas stones. My dad built me a log for pressing, farmer's walks, all that stuff. If I couldn't buy it, I made it, right? I set up implements in the yard so that I could train and do the things that I seen, all while trying to actually train to compete. Okay, I didn't have a coach at that time. I wanted to do it. But then there were times, where I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get out there and train. I didn't want to pay the price that went along with it, eating the amount of food that I had to. Of course, I kind of made a lot of mistakes there too. That's where a coach would have helped. It's hot. I'm working in the field. All those kinds of things, right? So mentally, I had to finally sit down and say, I'm trying to talk myself out of doing this. I'm trying to look for an excuse to not actually get on stage, if you will, in front of people and do these strongman events. I didn't want to look like a fool, I have an ego and I didn't want it damaged. All these types of things, so, I asked my wife, I was asking anybody, just give me a reason to back out, right? And I remember one night just sitting there and I finally said, is this really what you want to do? Do you really want to back out of something else simply because you're afraid of looking stupid, of failing a lift or something like that? Because you're going to regret it. And I struggled with getting older as a lifter. It's tough because everything comes with more of a price. It takes longer to recover. Injuries and things like that, and then they can interfere with work and your livelihood and just different things like that. But all of those could have been a valid excuse. The problem was I knew me and I knew why I was trying to back out of it. Okay, I knew I was making excuses, and I knew I was trying to get other people to justify my excuses. All right, and I'm getting somewhere with this, and I'm going to try and keep these episodes at no less than 30 minutes and try to keep them no longer than 30 minutes, but they might trickle a little bit over. I find that 30-minute mark is, somebody will look at it and like, okay, he must have had something to say. I'll settle in, I'll listen to this for a little while, I'll kill some time on the road or on a walk or whatever it is, right? I'm just trying to put some rhyme and reason and scheduling and, to this whole thing that I'm trying to do here. But anyways, kind of to get to my point, I knew I was making excuses for myself. I knew I wanted it, but I was beginning to understand I was in love with the idea of saying I did a strongman show and trained for one, and then actually backed out and had friends and family justify it for me. And I could have just walked away from it and nobody would have thought anything of it, right? The problem is, the older you get, you really start to reflect and regret on opportunities that you had to do something that might not ever be there again, okay? Some people it's traveling places. Some people it's taking a shot at building a business. You know, there's a million different things, right? For me, like I've talked since I've started this channel, it's my love and how lifting is a huge part of my life and my identity. And I didn't want to make excuses. I didn't want to look back, and this was back in 2020 when I did the competition, the year the world went to hell. I didn't want to look back and say, you know, you had an opportunity to say you did a strongman show and you didn't do it. You chickened out. And I decided at that night, I said, I'm just going to do this. Talked to the guy that was promoting and putting on the event. He says, look, man, everybody in their first competition, you're going to scratch some lifts. That means fail, right? Each event has a certain amount of weight that you have to do either for reps or distance or something like that. And he said, if you scratch, you scratch. If you zero out, you zero out. At least you did it. I said, yeah, you know, you're right. All these years of encouraging people to, you know, take a chance and get out there and do something, and here I was going to wimp out of it. So I decided 2 weeks out, I'll say, I'm in this. So I kept training as hard as I could. Day of the show come, and me and my wife only. It was 100 degrees outside, and let alone the fact that this thing was inside a pole barn. So that made it even hotter, and now you're doing these events. And my sister-in-law came with us to watch too. I'm not the kind of guy that needs a big hype crew or anything like that. When I do these kinds of things, I pretty much enclose into myself and put headphones on, and I think dark thoughts, right? And you hear a lot of people say that, and sometimes I think people just say that to sound cool, but for me, there's a lot of dark thoughts to think about that can fuel me. And it's probably not healthy. It certainly isn't healthy to do that a lot, but I think to do it for 60 seconds, which is the amount of time an event goes on, and I know I'm talking more about the show, the Strongman show, but I'm getting to something here, right? Being able to think that way helped me go through each one of those events. And even in the competition, the fourth event, which was a car deadlift, and if you know anything about strongman, you'll know what I'm talking about, how you perform it. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it was 500 pounds in hand, and I did it for 60 seconds. I believe it was 18 reps. I'm pretty sure. I wanted 20, but my grip and my body completely gave out. And after that, I literally had to go outside the pole barn and dry heave and almost pass out. The blood left my face, everything. It was really bad. My wife was dumping water on me, trying to cool me down. And I thought, my hands are all tore up now. Literally all the skin off my palms on the calluses there were completely ripped off. And I have to go throw some pine sap tacky on my hands to do this stone event, a 240 pound stone, 18-inch stone. I had to throw it over a bar for as many times as I could in 60 seconds. And I thought, you know, you done good. You made it through all four. You just used up everything you had, gave it your all on that deadlift event, plus the other three. You don't have anything left to prove. You know, you don't have to do this stone event. And even my wife was kind of telling me the same thing because she's worried, right? And there was a 30-minute break in between that deadlift and the stone event. They were doing some kind of special lift for the audience, you know, giving all the competitors a break. And I literally thought about not doing it. And then I thought, no, you've come this far. The stone over bar was my favorite thing. I did all that work to create all those different stones to train with at home. I didn't come this far, invest all this time and money and agony to wuss out on the last one. So I said to hell with it. Time came, my number was up, and I went and did 9 reps basically. Nine times I picked that 240-pound stone up and I threw it over the bar. And one of these days I'm going to make a video of that event so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. The whole show, right? All 5 things that I did. Okay? Now, the reason I kind of went into that is, if you notice what I was talking about, I wanted to give up and quit before I started the show, well before the show was even being put on, and even almost to the end of the show. I was looking for an excuse to get out, but I didn't. And I was proud of myself that I had finished it and accomplished it. It's the only one that I did. Okay, I entered one the following year, the same one, and so did my wife, but I pulled tissue in my groin area, which caused me to not be able to compete at that one. But my wife did it, so she was able to say that she did it as well. And to her, she's doing it more for different reasons than I am, right? It really didn't bother her one way or another she ever did a strongman show, but she was glad that she did it. She likes being strong, and it was a goal. To get to my point here is, you can find an excuse. Okay, let's say your goal is to lose 50 pounds, right? I want to lose 50 pounds. You decide next day you're going to get up. You bought some healthy food. You decided to get up at 6 a.m., do some cardio, eat a healthy meal, right? By the time lunchtime comes around, you're a little bit hungry, but you're determined. You eat another healthy meal. You're tracking your calories. You know, you're using one of the apps out there. You even went and got yourself a food scale. Mid-afternoon comes around. You decide, you know, I got that membership at the gym. Let's say Planet Fitness, right? I got to eat so I can get to Planet Fitness and do my workout. And that whole day is successful. And you feel good about yourself. Then the next day comes. It's time to do it again. Get up the same time. Fit in your life schedule, whether you're a mom and raising kids, right? Getting them ready. Fitting all this in your schedule. Or your husband that works 50 hours at whatever job, okay? And you're trying to figure out, okay, I got to do this again tomorrow. How do I fit in family time? How do I fit in work? How do I plan all this out? And then you let yourself become consumed with the idea that this thing is difficult, right? That I have too many other things that are of priority than this lifting and exercising and eating right. And by day number 2, midway through, you say basically, to hell with it, this is too difficult. I'm starving. I'm tired. I bit off more than I can chew. You know what? I'll start again next week. There's a lot of people that are listening to this right now, if you're listening to this, that know what I'm talking about. We've all been there, okay? And you justified giving up on your training and eating right because it's difficult to fit into your life. But you don't find it difficult because you talked about, well, I need to spend time with my kids. And then you go ahead and you spend 2 hours a night watching TV. Now, I ain't one of those kind of people that's going to sit here and preach against somebody watching TV and enjoying your shows. I ain't about that, right? What I'm trying to tell you is, there's time in everybody's day. If you literally want something bad enough, you're going to make the time. You know, you husbands and men out there that are engaged or with a girlfriend or whatever it is, you found the time to go spend with the girl that you ended up wanting to marry, right? You found that time. You go out, you work 10 hours, and she wants you to come over and spend an hour or two with her, and then spend the weekends with her, right? You found the time. You found the time to go to school to get the job that you wanted, okay? You found the money to pay for the things that you want. And those are the 2 biggest excuses that people use for not going to a gym and not eating healthy. It is. I don't have the time, and it's too expensive. All right? There is something that every one of you can do. There is really no excuses to not do this. You look in that mirror and you know you're unhealthy, okay? And just because you might weigh 165 pounds and you're pretty lean, it doesn't mean that you're healthy, okay? In the long run, as you get older, you stay at that, you don't do anything to train your muscle and put muscle mass on, that's going to catch up with you, all right? The older you get, the more important it is that you're working out in a way, doing things that cause your body to adapt to the stress to build muscle so that you can stay strong and not be that person on the commercial that falls down and can't get up. We've become too accepting with the prescription world, with the healthcare system willing to coddle and pamper everybody and create a pill and a wheelchair for everybody that has a disgusting lifestyle, right? And the older you get, the worse it gets. You can get away with that stuff for a while. It's amazing what the human body can tolerate. And all through your youth, you're like, I'm good, I don't need to do it. And then age 35 hits, and you really begin to start to feel exactly what I'm talking about. Then 40 hits, and you feel it even more, right? And then 50's right around the corner and above, okay? What I'm trying to get at here, folks, maybe in a long-winded way, is I gave you some examples that we all use to try and justify not taking our health seriously, okay? And then there's taking it seriously, working out, starting to eat right a little bit, and then giving up. And then there's the crowd that stays in the gym, home gym, public gym, whatever it is, has whatever kind of routine they have, eats relatively healthy, but they never see any progress, and they stagnate, and they just keep doing that time after time. And then they fall off the wagon, you know, they have a bad week, life hits pretty hard, you start eating like crap again, you're not training like you should be, and all of a sudden you put another 10 pounds back on. You worked your butt off to lose it, and now here you are, 10, 15 pounds in the hole. And then you get all discouraged and disappointed and say, you know what, might as well just dive into it now, here I am. And every day you look in that mirror, if you don't have it covered up with a blanket, and you have regret. Every day that goes by, you're thinking about what could have been. As long as you're still here, what I'm trying to tell you is there's time. There's nothing stopping you from getting that gym membership tomorrow. And if you already have it, getting in there. If you don't know what to do, just get in there and start moving around on the treadmill. Get acclimated to being in the gym. Do your walks. Get those 10 to 15,000 steps a day. Count the food that you're putting in your mouth. Figure out how much calories you actually need in a day, instead of just eating whatever you want whenever you want. The majority of people do not know how much fuel their body actually needs to do what they do every single day. That's something that you have to figure out. If you drive the same route to work, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you pretty much know I have to put this much gas in the tank, it will last me this amount of days, and it's going to cost me this much money. And it's pretty much set in your mind. You know exactly what you have to do, like clockwork. It is the same exact way with food. That's one thing I've learned in these last 7-8 years is food is extremely important, not just in the aspect of what you need to eat, but you have to track it. You have to measure it. You have to count what you're actually consuming. You know, I kind of look at it like this. Food, calories, okay, are like your bank account. And once you find out what your budget is, you do not break that budget. You know, if you allow yourself $150 a week for fuel to get you back and forth, do whatever you have to do, or you allow yourself $250 a week for groceries, and I know I'm putting those numbers low because that doesn't even buy hardly anything anymore. Our kids are all pretty much grown and buy their own food and stuff. We're still spending close to $300 a week on groceries. So I get it. By groceries, I mean everything that you need in the house, not just food. But so I understand. Trust me, I understand. But there are ways. When things were a lot tougher, there were still ways that we found to eat right, work out, train, walk, run, all these different types of things. So what I'm trying to convince you guys of is there is no excuse. If you literally sat down and thought of it this way, you know, you tell your kids they have chores to do, and day after day goes by, the chores aren't getting done. Then you call them all to the carpet on Friday night when they're all expecting their allowance, and you say, hey, this wasn't done. Hey, this wasn't done. And then you ask them, why wasn't it done? Do you think they're just going to pipe right up and say, you know what, Dad, Mom, because I'm lazy and I didn't want to do it, that's why? No. They're going to give you as many excuses until they find one that you accept. We all know that to be true. And that is the same exact thing we do when we're trying to justify not doing what we're supposed to do. Okay? So you need to sit down with yourself and ask, what exactly is holding me back, keeping me from doing what I know is right? Look at yourself in the mirror, you know, when you do this. I find it a very good exercise to actually look myself in the eyes in the mirror and admit things that need to be admitted. All right? And really start having a serious conversation with yourself. Do you want to continue the way you are, or do you want to change? And I don't care what it is, right? There's a lot of things in life we have to make those decisions. But I'm dealing only with the world of lifting, okay? Of health and well-being. And it's a long, hard road. And in the beginning, it's going to seem like you're just not making any headway, okay? That's literally what you're going to think. And there's going to be those mornings where you've been doing it 2-3 weeks and you're going to hit a stall and you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can continue on. I don't know if I can go through just another low calorie day because I'm trying to get down to a certain body weight or a certain body fat percentage. I don't know if I can just eat this same lean chicken again. I don't know if I can eat these vegetables again. I really want that cake or that pizza or those chips or whatever it is, right? Now, one thing I'm not trying to say is that you have to eliminate all your favorites for the rest of your life. That's not the case. But depending upon where you're at right now, you're going to have to do those things for a while in the beginning, okay? You have to teach yourself discipline. You have to teach yourself sacrifice. And think about it, you're not really sacrificing potato chips, are you? They're not something that's really needed. What you need to start telling yourself is you're sacrificing your well-being and your health and your longevity to be with your kids and grandkids for those potato chips. Bags of potato chips. Alright? I'll just give you a couple of testimonials on my own, just of me personally. You know, we've decided to do this bodybuilding show. And there's a hell of a lot that goes into doing something like this. There's going to be money. There's definitely a lot of time. Okay? There is a lot of sacrifice. There are going to be some extremely difficult, hard, dark days when your calories are so low and everything in life is irritating you. We all know what it's like to be truly hangry. Okay? There's things that we have to give up for a while. But it's only for a season because we have a goal. But there are days where I wake up 2 a.m. and I'm standing in the kitchen thinking about making myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a glass of milk. Thinking about grabbing a half dozen of those cookies that my daughter just made. Thinking about opening that refrigerator and eating whatever leftovers are in there, because I'm not going to put another 8-ounce chicken, boneless, skinless, ground chicken patty into my mouth. Okay? But I have to snap out of it and tell myself, you have a goal, you have a purpose, and when you go look in that mirror, it's going to be worth it. Okay? And it's the same for every one of you. It's the same for anybody that is sick and tired of living their life the way they're living it. Sick and tired of being unhealthy. Sick and tired of the up and down fad diet. Sick and tired of taking the weight off and putting it on. Sick and tired of all of it. And that's kind of what I'm doing these videos for. You know, you can sit down and you can watch these things by yourself or with your partner or your friend or whatever and kind of think about what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes I think it's even better than me being in person talking to you about these things, because you can react however you want. You know, you can get mad at what I say, you can agree, you can get upset in the sense that what he's saying is true and you're having to face realities. You know, all these things are serious things that you're going to go through mentally and emotionally, because we're dealing with something where you let your health get so far out of control that it almost seems like an unclimbable mountain. But I'm telling you right now, and all those folks that know me, you've seen how many times I've been up and down and then this and that and body transformations and all that stuff, and all of mine were for reasons, specific goals. Most of them. Some of them weren't. Some of them were pure lazy and had excuses and wasn't watching what I was doing, and it got out of control again, because that's easy to do. I do have to keep switching my hand back and forth. My arms are kind of tired tonight. I've already done 20 minutes on the stair stepper at our gym, and then another 15 minutes on the treadmill, and now I'm out for probably close to a 2-hour walk, because I'm trying to really shed off the last 9 pounds or so that I have to take off before I can go into maintenance mode and increase my calories up. So the more I'm moving and not sitting still, the less I'm thinking about food. Because then by the time I get done, and my wife, she's working tonight, so that's why she's not with me. By the time I get done with this, get home, shower, I'll have my 8-ounce of chicken breast patty. No breading or anything like that. It's just ground chicken that I cook like a hamburger. And my 10 ounces of russet potato that I'll cut up into potato wedges and throw into the air fryer. Okay? No oils. And that's going to be my dinner tonight. And every single day for the last 3 months, the food intake has been exactly the same. I only did anything different for Father's Day, where the wife went out and I went out to eat, and I ordered what I thought was going to be a grilled chicken salad. It came back as actual chicken salad with mayonnaise. It could have been more descriptive. We went to some Japanese restaurant in Royal Oak, and I ate maybe half of it, and there was probably only 5 ounces on the plate. And it came with some tortilla chips, and I ate probably 6 or 7 of those. That was my going off the rails. I think I had a couple other things too over the weekend, because it was also our 23rd wedding anniversary. I put on 3 pounds, okay, but that was all water. That's the other thing people need to understand with food, and that's something I'll get into later. But it wasn't body fat that I put on it today. It was 3 pounds of my body holding water, because I had some inflammation and I ate some food that my body wasn't used to eating, and it was holding water. Yesterday I got back up. This was Sunday that happened. Monday I got up, my weight was 205. This morning my weight's back down to 202. And I'm trying to get down to that 195 or 190 mark. Okay? So I got another 8 to 9 pounds or so, or whatever it is, 12 pounds to take off. So that's why I'm going extra hard on the cardio, and my calories are at 2,200. And it's the last 10 pounds of your goal that's the most difficult. Okay? But I could make an excuse. I could say, you know what, Webb, you're close enough. You're not doing your competition this year. You've gone far enough. End it. Slowly start increasing your calories and take a break. But that's not the goal I made for myself when I started this mock prep for this season, to help me prepare for what it's going to be like next year. Because next year it's going to be even worse in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Worse in the sense of the calories will be even lower if they have to be. Now, the goal is going to be keep myself in shape, don't put on bad body weight. I'll be able to increase my calories, but all that means I get to eat more of the same food I'm eating now. The only difference now is I'm eating less of the same exact food. And my foods, my breakfast in the morning is a Core Power protein drink, and it's milk. It's not a protein powder, so it's real food. 2 rice cakes with natural honey on them, and then about mid-morning I have 2 cups of that Oikos high protein, non-fat Greek yogurt, a cup of frozen fruit, mixed berries is my favorite, a half a cup of a low-fat granola. You got to be careful with that granola. Some of it's got quite a bit of fat in it. And then a tablespoon of honey on top of it. And that's my mid-morning dessert, or mid-morning snack. And then lunch and dinner, it's the ground chicken and rice or beans or potatoes cooked in the air fryer. And that is basically what we eat every single day, with no veering off, because we have a specific goal. You know, and people look at us sometimes like, man, is it worth it? Man, just, you know, you could do this, man. You know, you got this. This isn't that bad. You don't have, you know what I'm talking about, okay? But it'll get to a point where people see how dedicated, how serious you are, and they won't even say that anymore. They'll leave you be, okay? We take, if there's things at the church or gatherings, we take our own stuff, okay? So, I'll end this video. I've gone about 7 minutes over. We're sitting at about almost 38 minutes now. My point being this: stop with the excuses. Just stop. I don't want to hear what your excuse is. If you have to tell me, if I ask you, how come you're not doing it, and the first thing out of your mouth is, well, I would, but 99.9% guarantee it's an excuse that can be shot in the ground, okay? But I could sit there and tell you it's an excuse all day long. Until you actually believe it and admit it yourself, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to sit, you're going to spin your wheels, you're going to get mad, and then you're going to eat. And you're going to continue the vicious cycle, and you're going to pass on the same example to the people that look up to you, whether it be at work, in your home, in your church, whatever it is, okay? Somebody needs to break it. And that somebody is you. I can't give you any kind of motivational speech, because that motivation comes and goes. What you need to do is just have discipline. If you got enough discipline to get up and go to work because you want to feed your family, you can have the same damn amount of discipline to say, not only do I need to work for my family and provide, but I need to be healthy for my family. If you can't get out in the yard and throw the ball around a little while without running out of wind in 5 minutes, there's a problem. And that's whether you got kids or grandkids, okay? There's ways to fix this. And for those of you that are not fixing it, it's time to start. I'd be more than happy to help. And these are not promotions to try and, you know, get you to bring me on as a coach or a trainer, or help you out in areas. Like I said, my prices are so stinking cheap. It's just about you finding value in what you're doing, right? People find value in what they're paying for. And I love doing it. Got a couple of people already set up. We're already working with about 8 people. Okay? That's why I'm trying to do this. Is I know it's difficult. I know the way social media is, and it's just so full of all kinds of good and bad information, and you don't know which is what, and you get enamored by these big professional whatever influencers, right? All this kind of stuff, and it just gets confusing. You try this routine, you try that diet, you try this food source, you try that personal trainer, you try this program, whatever it is, right? Got a guy doing some leaf blowing over here, so might get loud for a second, but I've been through all that. I understand it. I am for the everyday mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, high school kid, college student who doesn't want to pay a truckload of money, who doesn't want to have to do a bunch of fancy this, that, and the other programs. They just have a specific goal in mind to get in shape, to be stronger, to look better, to feel better, and that's why we're here. Our programs are simple, they work. Our nutrition plans are simple, nothing fancy. You don't have to buy a lot of expensive food. You get to basically eat a lot of the same good foods that you might be eating now. We just help you manage the calorie intake to reach the goals that you have. We show you how to live the lifestyle, okay? And by the time you say, okay, I'm good enough, I don't need you anymore, hey, good for you. Now you can go help somebody else. All right? Yep, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna take a long time depending upon just how bad it is. By bad I mean just how bad your health is, how bad your body composition is. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. And there's gonna be times where you're just hating every bit of it. And it's at that times we kind of just look and say, hey, let's just take a break for a day. Let you get your mental back. That's okay. You're not gonna completely derail and gain 10 pounds because you had a day where you said, you know what, I want to just be with my family, I want to go out to eat, and I want to have ice cream when I come home. Cool, we can do that. And then the next day when you get in the gym, we'll just do a little extra cardio and we'll burn it right off. We won't even give it time to store. All right? So my main point was stop with the excuses. Stop giving yourself a reason not to do what you know you're supposed to do, and get off your butt and do what you need to do. Whether you want my help or need my help or not, just go do it.